Have you ever had this exact experience? You meal prepped all week. You skipped the midnight pizza. You got up early. You crushed your workout, feeling all virtuous and hydrated. You step on that scale the next morning expecting, a hero's welcome, and the number is either exactly the same or, for some reason known only to the universe, it went up 2 pounds. It's the ultimate metabolic gaslighting, right?
It absolutely is. And that cycle, that frustration, that daily obsession with the little digital display on the bathroom scale, it's one of the fastest routes to self-sabotage.
I think we need to call it what it is. It's a nervous breakdown generator.
It is,
It
Tim.
creates this intense stress. And here's the kicker, something that feels genuinely malicious. That emotional stress instantly spikes your cortisol. And that stress hormone actively tells your body to halt fat loss. The very thing you use to track progress is generating the hormone that prevents it.
That's the key insight we have to start with. We have the sequence completely backward. Most people think they need to lose weight to get healthy.
Right.
And that's wrong. The scale focuses on mass, which is a symptom, not a cause. The correct and crucial sequence is to get healthy,
Right.
then lose the weight. The loss is a guaranteed side effect of metabolic health.
Okay, that clarifies the mission for this deep dive. If the scale is only designed to measure the gravitational pull on your whole body, we need to unpack all the tiny temporary variables that make that measurement so wildly unreliable day to day.
The first one, and honestly the most deceptive, is water weight. It's the great false prophet of dieting. When you jump on a new regimen, especially if you cut carbs, you see this exhilarating, immediate drop. You might lose 3 to 5 pounds in a day or two.
And you think, I am a metabolic genius. This diet is the one.
Precisely. But you've only dumped fluid. See, in your liver, you store excess sugar as something called glycogen. And you should think of glycogen like a really absorbent sponge.
Okay.
Every single gram of glycogen is bound up with 3 to 4 grams of water. So when you start burning that stored sugar for energy, you're basically just squeezing out all that accompanying water.
So when the weight loss suddenly halts after 3 days, it's not because the diet failed.
No.
It's just that the initial fluid loss is over, and now the real, slow, tedious work of burning actual fat has to begin.
Exactly. And then you throw salt into the mix, and it becomes a fluid retention nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even a single salty meal, that dinner out, the processed snack, even some locations, it causes immediate fluid retention. We're talking 1 to 2 pounds overnight.
And if you combine salt and sugar, say late-night chips and a soda.
That's the turbo roller coaster of fluid gain. You've got the insulin response from the sugar helping the salt stick around, guaranteeing a massive fluid spike the next morning.
Wow.
And we can't ignore the built-in biological realities like hormonal swings. For females, the estrogen fluctuation leading up to the menstrual cycle that can easily pack on 3 to 7 pounds of fluid.
So you can be perfectly disciplined, and Mother Nature just decides, nope, you get to be heavier for a few days.
Yep. And you touched on stress earlier, but let's go a bit deeper on that. High stress, high cortisol. It causes your body to retain sodium while simultaneously losing potassium.
Potassium is what helps balance fluids.
Right. So you end up in this state of high sodium, low potassium, which is just a perfect recipe for fluid retention or edema. The scale goes up not because you overate, but because of stress.
That makes so much sense. Now, what about the most discouraging one for fitness fans? The exercise betrayal. You just spend an hour crushing a tough workout, you feel amazing, and you weigh more.
Right. So if you're new to working out, or you had a really demanding session heavy lifting, for instance, you cause what we call microtrauma in the muscles.
Which is a good thing for growth, but
your body treats it like an injury. It floods the area with inflammation and fluid, swelling.
So the scale is literally reading your inflammation levels.
That is precisely right. You might weigh 2 pounds more right after a hard leg day. But here's the critical part. The real metabolic benefits of the exercise, the actual fat burning, that happens 48 to 72 hours later.
During recovery, during sleep.
Exactly. If you measure right after the gym, you're just measuring temporary physiological cleanup.
Okay, and finally, we have to talk about what is maybe the biggest, heaviest variable on the scale, the constipation sponge.
It's a massive variable. It sounds crude, but you can gain a lot of weight from sheer waist retention. And you have to be aware of some of these synthetic fibers, like soluble corn fiber, that are touted for weight loss.
They can backfire.
They can act like sponges in your gut, retaining fluid and causing sluggishness, adding unwanted scale weight and, discomfort.
So we've established the scale is basically a nervous wreck. It's totally unreliable. But what happens when the scale shows zero change, yet your health is actually skyrocketing. This is the invisible wins part.
This is where it gets really interesting. The scale only measures total mass. It knows nothing about the quality of the weight being lost. Think of it like a bank balance that just gives you the total, not whether it's toxic debt or pure profit.
So the best fat loss is quiet.
The quietest. Because you might be losing the most dangerous types of fat first, and they don't weigh much. You could be shedding visceral fat, that deep, dangerous fat around your organs, or, even more critically, epicardial fat.
What is that?
That's the fat that literally invades the heart muscle itself.
That sounds absolutely terrifying.
It is, but it's one of the best predictors of heart attacks. And you can actually be thin on the outside, but have a lot of this internal organ fat.
So losing 1 pound of liver fat is infinitely more valuable than losing 10 pounds of, superficial fat.
Infinitely. And the good news is that liver fat, heart fat, pancreatic fat, it can come off very quickly, in days or weeks. But that internal loss is not going to move the needle much on the scale.
So you could see 0 scale change for 2 weeks and have actually reversed a life-threatening condition.
You could, yes. That's a massive perspective shift.
It is. Okay, let's talk about the muscle masquerade.
Yeah.
This is where people quit.
Because you combine a healthy eating plan with weight training and you build muscle, it's inevitable.
And muscle tissue is denser than fat.
Exactly. So if you lose 2 pounds of fat, but you gain 2 pounds of muscle at the same time,
You see a net 0 on the scale.
a big fat 0. And society screams failure, when in reality, that is a spectacular win for your long-term health.
Right, because the alternative, that rapid weight loss from crash diets.
Catastrophic. You're losing 20 to 40% lean muscle mass that just destroys your metabolic engine and guarantees you'll regain the weight.
And what if the plateau isn't about any of this? What about something like myxedema?
Well, if you hit a really persistent plateau and you have other symptoms like extreme fatigue or dry skin, it might be tied to hypothyroidism, something like Hashimoto's.
And that causes what exactly?
It causes myxedema, which is this kind of spongy, non-water, non-fat retention. And dieting harder isn't going to shift it. You have to fix the thyroid issue first.
Okay, so the scale is unreliable. The real victory is losing internal fat. We need to connect these invisible wins to something we can actually measure. What's the real iceberg we should be focused on?
The scale weight is just the tip of the iceberg. The vast submerged mass of that iceberg is insulin resistance, IR.
The root cause.
The root cause of almost everything. It's the engine for obesity, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, fatty liver, PCOS, all of it. You have to remember what insulin does. It causes fat storage, sure, but more importantly, it acts as the big brake.
The big break.
As long as your insulin is high, it physically prevents your body from accessing and burning its own stored fat.
So if the scale is useless, what are the 3 superior ways we can measure success?
Okay, number 1 is arguably the best and simplest. The waist-to-height ratio.
No fancy machine needed.
Just a tape measure around your waist, right at the belly button. And the goal is simple. Your waist measurement should be less than half of your height, below 0.5.
And as that number goes down?
You can be certain you are losing that dangerous visceral fat. It's way better than BMI.
Okay. Measurement number 2? This one needs a lab test.
Yes. It's the fasting insulin test. This is a much better biomarker than blood sugar or A1C, especially early on. You want that number below 5.
Why check insulin before blood sugar?
Because of this wild fact, 80% of the blood sugar in a person with type 2 diabetes is actually produced by their own liver.
Wait, what? Not from their diet?
Not primarily. Their liver has become so insulin resistant that it just constantly pumps out tons of sugar. So your blood sugar might look normal for years because your pancreas is overworking like crazy to hide the problem.
You are telling me that even if I ate nothing but air, my liver could still be the reason my blood sugar is high.
Yes. That fundamentally changes the conversation. It's not just about input, it's about fixing the factory.
Wow. Okay, so once you start fixing that factory, what's measurement number 3?
It's the simplest and most powerful sign of all, appetite.
The low-tech test.
When you can go longer between meals, say you skip breakfast easily and fast for 18 hours without feeling hungry or shaky, it means you are eating. You are literally eating your own stored fat for energy.
Not being hungry is the indicator.
It's the single best indicator that you're in fat-burning mode. If you can't go 3 hours without a snack, you're still running on sugar.
This brings up a huge question, though. How fragile is this fat-burning state? If I have, like, Half a glass of wine on a Friday. Does that undo everything?
It is. It is truly that fragile. It takes just a tiny bit of simple carbs, a little bread, half glass of wine, to raise insulin enough to kick you out of fat burning.
And it's not like you just jump back in an hour later.
No, it can take 24 to 48 hours of diligence to get back into that state. So if you're having a cheat every day or two, that's probably why the scale won't budge.
Okay, so we've identified insulin resistance as the cause. We have the 3 new metrics. Let's talk about the anti-IR protocol. How do we fix the iceberg, starting with diet?
First priority, bring sugars and critically hidden sugars, the starches like bread, pasta, crackers that break down into sugar, as close to zero as possible.
And what about the inflammation?
Yes, you have to eliminate seed oils, corn, soy, canola oil. They get into your cell membranes and cause chronic inflammation, which drives IR. Replace them with omega-3 sources, fish oil, sardines, cod liver oil.
Stop snacking.
Stop snacking. It constantly raises insulin. Intermittent fasting, 2 meals a day, no snacks, is crucial for letting insulin drop.
Okay, lifestyle. How does something like sleep fit into this puzzle?
It is central. Lack of sleep can induce an almost pre-diabetic state in just 1 week. Sleep lowers stress, and high stress, high cortisol, is a fluid retention machine.
So you can be dieting perfectly, but if you're sleep deprived.
The hormonal stress will prevent you from accessing your fat stores. Get long walks, avoid toxic people, seriously.
The most powerful lifestyle tip you shared, though, feels like the post-meal exercise.
It's remarkably powerful. Just going for a short walk after you eat, your muscles act like sponges, soaking up the glucose from your bloodstream before insulin has to be called in. You're immediately correcting the problem.
And for anyone who needs an extra nudge, are there any supplements that help?
Berberine works a bit like metformin without the side effects. And then magnesium, vitamin D, and B1 are all critical for glucose metabolism and are often deficient.
Okay, let's wrap this up. We started with the universal frustration of the scale. We've now replaced that one emotional, unreliable metric with 3 objective, health-focused ones: waist-to-height ratio, fasting insulin, and your own appetite.
And if we connect that to the big picture, just remember, your body sees fat as a survival mechanism. It doesn't want to release it.
Yeah.
Shifting your focus to fixing the root cause, insulin resistance. That's how you do it. Once that metabolic engine is running smoothly, the fat loss takes care of itself.
You've been conditioned to think weight loss is all about caloric input, what you're putting in your mouth. But if, as we learned today, 80% of the blood sugar in a type 2 diabetic comes from their own body making it internally, what if the most important change you make today is simply correcting what your own body is doing on the inside, rather than obsessing over the number on the scale? Think about that.